Welcome to the Further Light Podcast, presented by Wisconsin Freemasonry, helping you accomplish your Masonic goals through education and more light. And now, I present to you Brother Chris Ludke.
Listeners, scholars, brothers, this is Brother Chris Ludke, and today we're going to be exploring the Beehive, and really this episode is dedicated to one worshipful brother, Dale Hartung of Waukesha, because at the end of the day, he was really into, is really into beekeeping. I'm not sure if he keeps the bees, he's still around. But he brought up a good point, which is that the beehive, when we're told that this is a very important symbol, doesn't seem to have a lot behind it. And there is more information out there on the beehive than what we usually refer to in ritual. So I wanted to explore it with a little more depth. The bee is one of the most important symbols in Masonry, representing the virtues of industry, diligence, and cooperation. It's often used to represent the importance of working together towards a common goal, as we're going to see from some old Wisconsin work, just as bees work together to build and maintain their hive. In Masonry, the beehive is often used as a symbol of the lodge, representing the collective efforts of Masons to build a better world through their work and dedication. In addition to its symbolic significance, the bee also serves as a reminder to Masons to be good citizens working for the public good. The work ethic and the bee's ability to work together as a collective to achieve a common goal serve as a model for Masons who are encouraged to work hard and work together in achieving their goals. Overall, their symbolism in Masonry is a reminder of the importance of hard work, cooperation, and dedication to a common goal. Now, in terms of history, the bee was a symbol of the Egyptian pharaohs, who saw it as a symbol of royalty and power, oftentimes looking at the hive and seeing themselves as the queen, as this ruler, with everyone else working peaceably beneath them. And then the honey being that great common good. The Greeks and the Romans also used the bee as a symbol of industry and hard work. It's also used in many Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, etc., as a symbol to represent the virtues of diligence, obedience, and order, because if there is no obedience within that controlled chaos of the hive, then there can be no goals met. They won't put away the food for the winter. In Masonry, the bee's historical significance is rooted in its use as a symbol of industry and hard work. So, while no one knows when the beehive entered the Masonic ritual as a symbol, it is mentioned as early as 1724 in an expose printed in Ireland called the Early Masonic Catechisms, and it says, "A bee has in all ages and nations been the grand hieroglyph of Masonry because it excels all other living creatures in the contrivance and commodiousness of its habitation or comb." In other words, it has always been known as a creature that works together to create a great common good and does so in a rather unique way. Of course, the hive being made up of these unique cells in that hexagonal form, which is proven to be the most efficient form that each of those cells can take to work together and allow the most product or the most pupa or whatever happens to be in that comb to be in that space. The early 19th century lecture of the master's degree contained information about the beehive as an emblem of industry, and recommends the practice of that virtue to all beings, from the highest seraphs in the heavens to the lowest reptiles. It tells us that we come into the world as rational, intelligent beings, and so should we ever be industrious ones. Remember, that's what separates us from the animals, whereas the bees create this perfect hive. Perfect in many, many ways. Humans improve on what we create. Whereas the bees will not be improving on that form, at least not in the period of a lifetime and likely in the period of human history. So never sitting down contented while our fellow creatures are in want, we are especially empowered to relieve them without inconvenience to ourselves. And then later, Jones' Freemason's Guide and Compendium also includes an early use of the beehive as a Masonic symbol, stating, on old jewels, tracing boards, lodge furniture, banners, summonses, certificates, the beehive with its flying bees is often a prominent symbol. And in at least one case is found in the lodge seal. As far back as 1724 to 27, a Masonic pamphlet speaks at length of the bee and the beehive as a symbol. Now, in terms of common usage, of course, we see bees on a regular basis. Shakespeare, in his play Henry V, uses the beehive as an example of a well-ordered kingdom. Quote, so work the honeybees, creatures that by a rule in nature teach the art of order to a peopled kingdom. And that's from Shakespeare, Henry V, Act 1, Scene 2. Now, you also have to keep in mind that bees have been used as symbols on coats of arms and other things for quite some time. So the idea of appearing in common usage is quite common. We'll deal with some of those in a moment. In terms of interpretation, there are several interpretations. There's the idea of purity or perfection. This doesn't come from the bee itself. This comes very much from the honey. So they're usually seen flying around the hive. The Roman writer Porphyry, in one of his works, The Cave of the Nymphs, tells us that in the Roman rites of Mithra, honey from a honeycomb was poured over the initiate, while he was admonished to avoid all which was unclean in the world, honey being a symbol of purity, very similar to the apron. The reason being that even the ancients understood that honey was one of those unique foods with the property of not needing preservation. It remains unsullied, unoxidized. It doesn't change. It's the same reason we find gold to be a perfect symbol of purity in so many cultures and faiths, because it doesn't oxidize. And honey has the same characteristics. Now also, when you look at the image of the beehive and many of the Masonic images that we see, from the slideshow to old monitors, you will notice that there are 7 bees typically drawn flying around the hive. 7 is, of course, one of the great numbers of Masonry. It's also the number of people needed, or brothers needed, to make a perfect lodge. And it also refers to the 7 liberal arts, because for us to find purity and perfection, i.e. the spiritual, we must study the 7 liberal arts, which allow us to understand this world, so that with that understanding, we can now begin to approach the spiritual. The same reason astronomy is typically listed as the 7th of the 7 liberal arts, because it deals with those things that are not terrestrial. Now, in terms of industry, the bee is a symbol of unity and cooperation. Bees work together in a hive, each bee playing a vital role in the functioning of the whole. Some go out and necessarily find pollen to bring back. Some will work within the hive, making bee bread, which is this mix of pollen and nectar. Some making honey. Some raising the younger bees. Some taking care of the queen or making royal jelly. You can tell someone went to Honey Acres outside of Ashepin, Wisconsin, maybe just a week ago. The idea of working together for a common goal is an important tenet for Masonry, and we're just drawing a parallel between that if the brothers in a lodge understand their individual roles and do their utmost to fulfill that singular task or those tasks, then the lodge will be able to create a beautiful, perfect whole. The bee's tireless work ethic and its ability to work together as a collective to achieve a common goal makes it a fitting symbol for Masonry, which emphasizes the importance of hard work and cooperation. Now, moving aside from hard work and cooperation industry, we also get this idea of dependence and the necessity for us to serve the larger society, having taken from it at some point in our lives. And we find this in a 1908 copy of the Constitution, Laws, and Edicts of the Grand Lodge of the state of Wisconsin. So it's put out by the Grand Lodge, and it has the typical material on the Beehive, that one paragraph that we're all very familiar with. But then it goes on, and so this is exoteric work. This is no longer used in Wisconsin. When we take a survey of nature, we view man in his infancy, more helpless and indigent than the brute creation. He lies languishing for days, months, and years, totally incapable of providing sustenance for himself, of guarding against the attack of the wild beasts of the field, or sheltering himself from the inclemencies of the weather. It might have pleased the great Creator of heaven and earth to have made man independent of all other beings, but as dependence is one of the strongest bonds of society, mankind were made dependent on each other for protection and security, as they thereby enjoyed better opportunities of fulfilling the duties of reciprocal love and friendship. Thus was man formed for social and active life, the noblest part of the work of God. And he that will so demean himself as not to be endeavoring to add to the common stock of knowledge and understanding may be deemed a drone in the hive of nature, a useless member of society, and worthy of our protection as Masons. Well, I guess that's what the book wrote. But when we look at it, it's very interesting because it points out that when we are children, we are open to attack. We can't provide our own sustenance. We can't provide our own shelter. And therefore, we owe it to society, the society that did provide us shelter, that did provide us sustenance, to continue and work in this noble pursuit, trying to fulfill the duties of reciprocal love and friendship, and endeavoring to add to the common stock of knowledge and understanding. Failure to do so, in other words, having taken from society, by not giving back, they compare us, the original writers, to a drone in a hive of nature. Now we know that the drones do play a role in the hive, but it's not as important to role, arguably, as the worker bees. And so they're making that comparison that we owe it to society, the society that raised us, to assist the society in its growth and movement forward. Very interesting second half to the material that we typically see. Now, in terms of the bee in hieroglyph form, in other words, as a symbol, a bee in all ages and nations has been this image of Masonry, as we said. For this reason, the kings of France, both pagan and Christian, also sometimes eminent Freemasons, would carry bees on their coat of arms. The Barberini popes have bees on their coat of arms. In fact, if you go to St. Peter's Basilica today, the baldacchino, that big bronze canopy over the central altar, is covered in bees because of the Barberini popes. You will notice many elements of the Vatican with bee symbolism because of these Barberini popes, always speaking to industry, to purity, to this idea of sort of we're in control, but we're doing so in such a way that the rest of the workers can be harmonious and will find happiness under our tutelage. Interestingly, what modern Masons call a lodge was, for a time, called a hive of Freemasons, appears in antiquity, and for the same reasons, when a dissension happened and a lodge then went off and formed another lodge, this was at the time called swarming. Now, in terms of application, let's turn the bee's attributes directly on Masonry. And let's look at industry, fertility, obedience, and wisdom. 4 lessons of the honeybee, of the beehive. And of course, the beehive has been adopted by friendly societies, by trade unions, insurance companies, industry, always representing industry and the bees representing the workers. Sort of this top-down model of the modern day. Now, in terms of industry, bees, of course, work tirelessly to gather nectar and pollen and bring it back to the hive. This hard work and dedication to the hive is a symbol of the importance of diligence and perseverance in our own lives. As Masons, we are encouraged to work hard and be diligent in our pursuit of knowledge and of wisdom. But then there's also the idea of fertility, not one that we usually get into when you first come across this symbol. The bee's always been a symbol of fertility. Bees are responsible for pollinating flowers, which allows for the growth and production of fruits and vegetables. In the same way, we as Masons are called to be fertile in our own lives, to cultivate our own growth, and help others grow and flourish. In other words, we should use our knowledge, our understanding of the world, to help others grow, to mentor them so that they can grow into the next generation's fruits and vegetables, so that they can stand on the shoulders of giants. See, that's the thing about legacy. Fertility really should be legacy here. If a generation skips that legacy and goes, you know what, we're not interested in what was, well, that thing for which we have the legacy disappears, as oftentimes does the legacy of it. There are many mystery schools, many ideas, philosophies, and concepts in this world that are long forgotten. And so this is not so much fertility as it is the importance of passing on legacy so that there can be another generation who will go out and spread Masonry. Then there's the idea of obedience. Bees are known for their obedience, primarily to the queen bee and to the hive. They work together in perfect harmony to achieve their goals. This attribute of obedience is important to Masons. We are called to be obedient to the principles of our craft and to work together in harmony to achieve our goals. We've all heard it at installation. We've all heard it elsewhere, these ideas that it is incumbent on some to lead and some to effectively follow. You can't have leaders if there aren't followers, and you can't have followers if there aren't leaders. And so it's a recognition of that. And the same applies in the beehive. Of course, you have leaders and followers there too. In terms of wisdom, the bee has also been a symbol of wisdom, not just for the form of their hives, that perfect hexagon form that we see repeated thousands or tens of thousands of times throughout their hive, but also, for example, due to their communication, their ability to communicate with each other through complex dances and movements, allowing them to work together in harmony to share ideas throughout the hive. If you go and you see one of these live hives, you'll see this happening. Bees doing this little dance to let other bees know where the nectar is, where the flowers are. You could see this at the open hive that they usually have at State Fair, at Honey Acres, at any number of other places. And this attribute of wisdom is one that we as Masons strive to achieve. We seek to gain knowledge and understanding so that we can work together in harmony to achieve our goals. To tie this a little more closely to the bee, we go out and we find information and we bring it back to the lodge in the form of Masonic education, maybe non-Masonic education. Maybe you sell insurance and you can enlighten your brothers about how insurance or certain forms of insurance work. And this improves the lives of everyone there, the same as the bee coming back and saying, hey, I found some flowers and they're over there. I mean, they do it through a dance, but you get the idea. It's the same concept. We need to think differently. The beehive, at the end of the day, is a symbol that has fallen out of favor because our society has shifted. We've become a society where the individual asks things of society. We demand things of society. We go, hey, you owe me this. Whereas every generation, really up through World War II, had a completely opposite view, which is the individual serves society, not the society serving the individual. And something like the beehive is going to really capture those ideas. In modern Masonry, the bee continues to be an important symbol. It represents industry, hard work, cooperation. These are all values that are essential to the success of any society or organization, and Freemasonry is no exception. As Masons, we strive to embody the virtues of the bee in our daily lives. We work hard to improve ourselves, thus improving our families, our communities, and society overall. And we recognize the importance of teamwork and cooperation in achieving our broader goals. The bee is also a symbol of the hive mind, where individual bees work together for the good of the colony. This is an important lesson for Masons, who are encouraged to work together for the greater good of their lodge and for their communities. The bee is also a reminder of the importance of education and self-improvement. They are known for their intelligence and their ability to learn and adapt. As Masons, we are also encouraged to seek knowledge and to constantly strive to improve ourselves and our understanding of the world around us. The bee represents hard work, cooperation, and industry, and reminds us of the importance of working together for the common good. By allegory and symbolism, Freemasonry teaches its members important moral and ethical lessons, and the symbolism of the bee is a powerful example of this. By studying it, its symbolism, its lessons, its teachings, we can gain a deeper understanding of the values and principles that Freemasonry seeks to instill in all of its members. Even this seemingly minor symbol today, which used to be far more important and has fallen out of favor in certain places. For example, you don't typically see the Beehive in the United Grand Lodge of England anymore, is again one of these onions that needs to be peeled back so it can reveal the beauty of the teachings within. And it gives us all something to think about. Thank you for joining me, Brother Chris Leakey, and the entire Further Light team on your quest to find more light through Masonry.
Are you interested in learning more about Freemasonry in Wisconsin? Visit wisconsinmasons.org to learn more about Masonry and access further educational content and more light. Once again, that address is wimasons.org. Any questions, comments, or suggestions, please email us at education@wisconsinmasons.org. And thank you for listening.